The 2023 Overwatch League season has crossed the halfway point, the summer stage is here, and it's time to shift the tone. The confetti from the Midseason Madness has finished falling. Atlanta Reign stands not only as the best team in the world, but as champions with little to no resistance from the teams they felled. Now, new faces are beginning to integrate into the East, as familiar ones in the West begin to close the gap. The metagame has shifted, power rankings have been set, and the playoffs are in sight. It's difficult to imagine a worse way to begin a season for the San Francisco Shock. A team that has, for the most part, only known success, now has to fight to escape the gutter. Burdened with lofty expectations, the greatest player Overwatch has yet seen, and a roster of promising rookie talent, San Francisco exited the spring stage wounded. Now the Shock need to harness the disappointment of the spring stage and use it as a catalyst to thrust them back towards the throne. Is this the stage where the Shock right the wrongs of the Pro-Am and the spring months to flourish into summer? They've got off to the best possible start. The question is, can they sustain it? We've seen teams suffer catastrophic losing streaks, seen whole squads written off entirely as bye-week teams, only to rise from the ashes as contenders with the largest of chips on their shoulders. If the Shock don't want this season to fizzle, they need to start showing what they're made of. On to the next, and there is no other way to say this, the Atlanta Reign look unstoppable. Even when you start to nitpick and search for arguments, they spit all that back in your face with surprising and devastating accuracy. So it's funny to think that this franchise used to be the gatekeeper team, and it's a brand they've struggled to escape since its inception. The gap may close as patches roll in, but they stand on firm ground for now. Even when looking ahead to the playoffs, a period where you'd historically reset your biases and prepare for some shifts in the power rankings, Atlanta looks well prepared. Pretty much mirroring the 2022 playoffs, this year Overwatch League will add another support character to their cast alongside a brand new core game mode. A new hero has always seemed to throw a wrench into the works for a lot of teams in the Overwatch League. But can you really be running scared when you have Fielder, Chio and Vigilante in the backfield? And while you should never underestimate the intrinsic chaos that a new game mode might bring, everyone has to find their bearings in this strange new post-Flashpoint world. And the Reign just have significantly fewer hurdles to jump when compared to everyone else. And this comes off the back of a 2021 Shanghai Dragons-esque performance in Midseason Madness. Even before the semi-finals 2 years ago, we all knew Shanghai were going to win the world title. And that was the general feeling around Atlanta's first major international victory as well. Those kinds of runs, with these kinds of players, do not come around often. This is a special team, and as we advance into the summer stage, Atlanta are only going to look at reinforcing that fact. That said, staying at the top of any esport is hard. Remaining at the top of Overwatch is practically impossible. Its rules are tweaked, and metagames evolve. It's an unstable foundation for empires to be built on, which is why we've seen so bloody few of them. So, is the Atlanta Reign up for the task? Unrestrained and facing little resistance, is this how Atlanta begin their reign? Are we witnessing a new dynasty being formed, or is it all just a flash in the pan before reality catches up with them? With a win already under their belts, the smart money is on the former. Moving on from favourites to dreamers. This is a team that was given the classic Hollywood role, a squad of veterans without a home, chasing one last shot at glory. True to their moniker, there were dreams at stake, and they were not going to give up easily. With losses to Wildflame and NT, they narrowly advanced through the WDG Open Tournament to make Overwatch contenders spring. There, Dreamers only scored a single victory over SLT Miracle, a team who lost every match and map they played, so not exactly the most impressive of runs. Even a month after their debut, they were still fringe candidates that could easily have been written off. To most fans, it was becoming increasingly clear that this was a team that should accept their fate. They couldn't cut it, and they need to pass the torch. But one fateful break would give them the spark they needed. To qualify for the Overwatch League's Spring Opens, Dreamers would have to face a name they were all too familiar with. Team Diamond was billed to be the archetypical up-and-coming team of amateur prospects. They literally strolled their way to winning the WDG Open, dropping a single map along the way. They were placed in Group A alongside Dreamers and dispatched the former professionals in a narrow Game 5. Their meeting in the lower bracket final of the Spring Series was meant to be more a matter of formality than any kind of underdog story. But one name was missing from Team Diamond's starting roster. In a post-mortem Twitter post, Team Diamond had made a last-minute roster change due to some alleged internal discord, which saw one of their starting DPS, Sad, stand in as a support player. You could not ask for a better chance to topple the favourites than this. Needless to say, Dreamers advanced to pair off with Overwatch League staples like the Seoul Dynasty and the Guangzhou Charge, and now they face an even greater threat. With their starting DPS and main support ace leaving for permanent seats at the Overwatch League table, Dreamers need to find their glass slipper again. The most unlikely team to narrowly miss the Midseason Madness stands on the precipice of history. Do they have it in them to push the impossible and set up an underdog story for the ages? And finally, from dreams to, well, absolute nightmares, It might genuinely be an understatement to say the Vegas Eternal has been bad this season. If they could wake up and have the last few months not have happened, they probably would, but their luck may soon begin to turn. A new influx of talent was just the espresso shot Eternal needed to get themselves back on track. And South Korean prospects Knife, Toyo, and Irony have brought their considerable skills to the Eternal. So has Las Vegas bet on the right hand to avoid an inglorious legacy? Formerly the Seoul Dynasty, Toyo is looking for one more chance to prove to the world that he's not just worthy of greatness, but capable of achieving it. Emerging out of the Spring Opens alongside Simprisa Gaming, Toyo was easily one of the top 2 tank prospects Overwatch League teams could sign. Knife follows a storied lineage of South Korean DPS rookies that graduate from O2 Blast, and it is very safe to wager that his talents are better than what the Eternal had before. The question is just how high he can go. With a history in Chinese Overwatch alongside the Hangzhou Spark and their academy team, Irony has been a player to watch for quite a while now. And much like Knife, his tenure alongside O2 Blast should be a significant confidence boost to Eternal fans. So while it's clear that Vegas has had a lot of trouble in the mechanical department so far this season, that shouldn't be the case anymore. Now they're battling with the logistics of playing on ping and in a time zone that is likely to have a negative impact on performances, at least to start with. But it's quite literally do or die at this point for Eternal. With no wins to speak of and only one map win on their slip so far this season, surely things can only go up from here. So can they cash out with some chips left in play? Or are they doomed to be cemented next to some of the worst teams in Overwatch League history? The summer stage is here, and we won't have to wait long to find out.